Hi there, my name is Jen. I want to say thanks for being here. I'm so glad you are. Today I'm going to share a practice that is focusing on our resilient nervous system. It will mostly be a standing practice, and I will offer different options for you to explore along the way. If at any point you are not jiving with what I'm sharing, that's totally fine. Feel free to move in your own way, or even taking a pause at any point when you need to. So through this practice, we're going to explore balance, contralateral movement of our body, as well as coordination between the upper and lower body. We're going to work on some twists, and all of these different types of movements and actions can be really regulating for our nervous system. They can help us feel more grounded and centered, help us refocus and even have a bit more energy, and really just help get the blood moving. So at any point throughout your day, this might be a nice practice to get into, and even just parts of it may be something you want to explore. So to begin, we're just going to wake the body up. If you've been sitting for some time, this might be a really nice wake up, maybe even better than a cup of coffee. So I call this the quadrant tap, and we'll begin by just one limb, one side of the body. So just starting at my calf, my shin, I'm just going to lightly tap my skin in a way that starts to energize the largest sensory organ that we have, our skin. And from there I can tap my feet if I want to, my ankle. I'm going to just start to travel up a little bit now into my knee, the front and the back, just giving that a bit of a pat. And then moving up to my thigh, front side, the inside and outside, and even the back side. Then moving up onto my hip. I can come a little bit towards the front of my pelvis, even onto the back side a little bit. If you want to get in there and tap your bum, it's part of you too. And then when you're ready, we're just going to pause that action for a moment. And I invite you just to notice. Maybe notice if there's a difference between one leg and the other. Maybe a difference between the top side of your body and the lower side of your body. And then when you're ready, we're going to do the same thing now on the other leg. So again, starting with the lower part. Doesn't matter where you start though. I'm just going to pat down. And one thing I just invite you to consider is this doesn't have to be a really hard slapping action. It could be even just tapping with your fingerprints if that felt okay. Moving up to your knee. You could even use a ball in your hand. Some people have told me they use a lint roller to invite some feedback onto the top of their skin. There's so many ways we can do this. Coming up to our leg again, the upper part of our leg. Just seeing if we can make contact with as much of ourselves as we can. Our hip, our lower back, the bum if that feels okay. And again, we're just going to pause and notice. Notice the sensations that maybe we're feeling on the top of our skin. Noticing any differences between the upper torso compared to the limbs. Maybe noticing a bit more dimension to yourself. And then from here, we're going to come up onto the top half of us, and we'll focus on one side again. And we'll just start by gently tapping the back of the shoulder, front of the chest, and then working our way down top side of the arm to the underside, even into the armpit, along the side body there. And then when you're ready again, just allowing everything to be still for a moment. Maybe even start to be aware of your breathing if you haven't already. Notice once again if one side of the body feels different than the other. And then again, when you're ready, we'll finish off with the final top side of our body. So again, starting again, chest, patting in there, hand onto the back of the shoulder, the top of the shoulder. And then I'm going to start to travel again down the top of my arm towards my hand on one side. You could even stop and give yourself a bit of applause here. Listening to the sound of that applause. And then again, underside into the armpit. Try not to rush this. You know, if you can definitely give yourself a few moments to do this pat down. It doesn't have to be the full body. It could be just the upper half or lower half. I invite you to do so. It really can make a difference in just getting you a bit more energized and ready to go. So finally, standing in our vertical space, maybe more aware of our body than we were before. Again, coming back to noticing our breathing, noticing where it is the most clear in your body right now. Could be maybe at the top of the upper lip, air from the nose, maybe in the chest, maybe somewhere else. Just taking a pause. As you will see throughout this practice, we will take many pauses, as the pause can be just as important as the pose or the movement. It gives our nervous system and brain time to integrate the information it's picked up from our experience, whether that's an inner body experience or an environmental experience. Okay, so when you're ready, we're just going to step a little bit wider. And as you can see, I've elected not to have a mat. You can choose to be on a mat if you like or not, whatever feels best for you. I'm just going to take my feet a bit wider, and then I'm going to turn one foot out a little bit. So from there, with my legs fairly straight, I'm going to bend a little bit into one leg. This is the leg where I've turned my foot out. Can bring my hand to my thigh. I'm going to reach up with my other arm, and I'm just going to start by seeing if I can find length between my wrist above my ear, right down through that foot, grounding into the floor. So I'm really thinking about reaching up here, getting tall, seeing if I can find so much length between my hip and my armpit. And then from there, you might start to reach a little bit more and even lean over a little bit, or reach up and over to find a little bit more of a stretch on the top side of your body here. If it felt okay, you could come down onto your forearm as well. And just keep thinking about reaching and creating different distance between your upper wrist and trailing foot. And just notice if you're maybe collapsing a little bit into that lower side body. See if you can imagine trying to find equal distance between both sides of the side body. Taking a few breaths here. And then we'll start to introduce a bit of a windmill action with our arm, top arm. So I'm just going to start to reach my hand back behind me, and as I do, my shoulder opens, my chest opens, and then as it comes forward, that shoulder starts to draw in. Now I'm rotating my rib cage towards the floor. Now you can just do this windmill action slowly and gently, just noticing the movement of my spine as my shoulder and rib cage move. I could even bring my hand to my shoulder. Just notice how that feels. One might feel better than the other for you. And you can also see, if you're looking at me, I'm taking my gaze with me, so I'm also getting some movement into the upper part of my spine. Really nice. And then from there, we'll press up and then reorient our feet. So now turning the other foot out, bending into that knee a little bit. And then again, when you're ready, hand on the thigh to start. We'll just reach up. We'll think about lifting up. You could even bring that shoulder up to the ear, just really, really reaching. You might notice a stretch, you may not. And you could stay here, reaching a little bit more, and then up and over, thinking about lifting the rib cage up and away from your pelvis. And then even maybe coming down onto that forearm, or any variation that feels good for you right now. Just really trying to get a stretch on that top side of the body, creating more space between that hip and armpit, and also creating space between those low ribs and that other hip. Just a few breaths here. And then again, we'll come into those windmills, either with the arm fully extended or hand on that shoulder. Two different options that are still inviting the same spiraling and rotation of our spine. Just trying to keep as well the pelvis and lower body somewhat rooted, so it's not coming with you per se. Just really trying to focus the movement on the upper part of the body and the spine. Really nice. And from there, we'll let that go. Walk our feet back in a little bit more. And again, keeping them wide, but maybe not as wide as that lateral stretch. Just start to come into a really passive twist. So just see if you can let any tension go, or any desire to kind of organize yourself here. To see if you can be a little bit more free. You can think about pushing the ground away as you bend into the knees, and that pushing the ground away creates this spiral and moving twist action all the way up. You can take the gaze with you back behind you. But if you're like me, I very quickly start to feel a little bit dizzy, so I'll generally come back to keeping my gaze forward. So just sort of pumping into this twist from the ground up, allowing the pelvis to move, allowing the rib cage, the shoulders, arms freely, maybe even hearing a bit of a slap on your backside or on your limbs. Brilliant. And then from there, just to start to allow that twisting to unwind itself very slowly. So trying not to stop your momentum. Just allow the body to naturally come back to something that's a bit more still. Beautiful. And then from there, we're going to make this twist, or we're going to explore this twist a little bit more actively. So that was really passive and allowing just the whole body to move and twist as it felt like doing. But now, if you can imagine, think about putting your superhero armor on, but just the low body. So thinking about the hips right down to the feet, really rooted and strong. Might feel good to even find a bit more of a athletic stance, so bending into the knees here, but really thinking about being in an armor in the lower part of your body. And we're just going to focus now movement from the hips up. So we can bring our hands to our sternum, or just floating over the sternum. And from here, we're just going to start to twist our rib cage over to one side, any amount, and just notice the range there. And maybe compare that to, if you can remember, the range you might have had in that more passive twist. So we're going to keep those hip points facing forward and just turning that sternum towards one side. Just hold for a moment here. You might notice some things in this area, in the side waist, starting to turn on. That's muscles engaging to help bring you into this more active twist. And then come back through center. Do the same thing on the opposite side, just drawing ourselves into this twist, using those muscles of our side waist. Just pausing here again. Notice, and I just caught myself doing this tendency of maybe this trailing arm to want to pull you in a little bit more. Can you keep yourself centered, using that sternum as a guide so your elbows continue to point away from each other, and just moving the part of the spine within the rib cage. Yeah, really nice. And then you can just add a little bit more speed to explore what that feels like. We can also add in a reach as we come to one side. Again, first noticing that we come into the twist and then reach, seeing if we can minimize the amount of extra effort to come into this movement, and really just allowing our spine to be supported by the musculature. Noticing if this feels harder, and maybe even starting to build a little bit of heat in the body as well. Truth be told, I've been warm for a while. Beautiful. And then we'll come back and let that go. Now to bring a little bit of coordination into our body and to take a little bit of pause from the twisting. We're going to come into a little movement sequence. I call it moving mountain or coordinating mountain, as you'll see in a moment. So we'll just start to lift up onto our toes and lower back down. So just getting a sense for how our balance may be today. Every day is a new day, so don't feel it should be perfect or not perfect, depending on how you feel in this moment. So if you make a decision that this is maybe not the best place for you to be today, you can totally do this with keeping the feet rooted. I'm just going to add on a little movement to this, and I'm just going to start by soothing my arms up overhead as I lift onto my toes, and then lowering everything back down. Lifting up and down. As I'm doing so, I'm trying to coordinate the lift so that my heels and my arms extend up at the same time. And then my heels start to lower as my hands and wrists are coming down. And can I coordinate them both to land back to that first position? So just doing that as slowly as you can, really noticing how to coordinate this action in the lower and upper body to time it in a way where things line up at the same time, and keeping your balance if you're choosing to lift up. Beautiful. One more just like this, wherever you are. And then we're going to continue with the heel lifts, or again, if you choose to stay flat on the ground, that's fine too. We're going to change up the arms a little bit. So now I'm going to start to lift up on my heels as my arms come up to the sides. And then I'm going to take one arm and continue to travel it towards the ceiling. And then I'll bring it back down to meet my other arm, and then we'll lower everything together. Trying that on the other side, lifting up on the toes, arms to a T. One arm continues up towards the ceiling, back down. Everything comes back down together. Let's see if we can do two more on each side, just like this. Again, coordinating a sequence that sort of smooths out the edges if you can. So everything lifts to a peak at the same time, and then everything lowers back down to the ground at the same time. One more, both sides. And last side. And then we'll just finish that asymmetrical arm sequence off by coming back to symmetry with both arms, just to settle our brain a bit if it got a bit fuddled. One more time, lifting up and lowering back down. Beautiful. At this point, again, let's take that pause. Noticing how we're feeling. Maybe noticing if there's any shift in our energy, our mood, the quality of our thoughts at this part in our practice. Maybe even checking in again on the breath if you aren't already. Just Just noticing if there is any shift in where you first noticed or experienced it when we began. Okay, so when you're ready, I'm actually going to turn this way so you can see me from this angle. We're going to take one foot and step it back behind us. And I'm basically coming into a high lunge, and I'm on my back toes with that back heel pointing up towards the ceiling. And I'm bending into my front knee. And I'm bending my back knee a lot to just give some space to my low back. I'm also thinking about drawing my tailbone down. Again, that is also creating some space and some length in my low back. I'm also feeling a bit of a stretch on this back thigh. So I find that just gives me more support. Another thing you might want to play with is even how wide your feet are. I find that if my feet are more on a balance beam, I have less stability. So I like to step out a bit wider. So I have a bit more support from my ground up. I feel a little bit more stable. So we are going to be introducing some twisting actions into this next little experience. That might be something you wish to play with. So from here, I'm going to bring the hand that is with the bent knee to my hip, and then I'm going to bring my other hand up towards the ceiling. So from here, I'm now going to start to coordinate my body, my upper and lower body. And this may be a little bit of a brain experiment for you. I know it is for me even right now. So when you're ready, I'm going to think about pressing the ground away as my front knee comes to straighten and my upper arm lowers to my hip. And then I'm going to bend back into that knee and lift that arm back up. And down, pushing everything away, pushing everything down, and then rising everything back up. Let's just do a few more like that. So you get the sequence, the coordination of upper and lower body. We're also playing with a little bit of contralateral movement. That would be the opposite sides of the body moving or in action together. And then last time, let's just come into that bent knee, that lower lunge or that high lunge, arm raised. And then from there, we'll bring our arms, our fingers to the sternum, just floating or touching the sternum if that feels okay. We're going to come back into that active twist. Now, I'm twisting towards the leg that's out front. So you might just need to say brain, front leg, I'm turning that way. So I'm going to be turning away from the camera in this way. So I'm going to twist and come back through center. And twist, come back through center. And one more, we're going to come into the twist and we'll hold here. And you can also reach your hands out if you like. And you could even take your gaze back towards that back thumb if you wanted to. So any amount of variation here that feels best in your body, but at the same time feeling strong and rooted. And then I'll bring my hands back to my sternum, back to center. I'm going to step forward, pause and notice. I know just right off the bat that front leg, that glute, is definitely on a little bit warmer than it was when we first started. So again, we'll go to the other side. So stepping 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. I'm going to bend into that front knee. Again, bending for me into this back knee a little bit. Drawing my tailbone down. Seeing if I can find a little bit more lift my rib cage up and away from my pelvis. I'm going to bring my hand to my hip, lift the other one up, overhead, and then when you're ready, playing with pressing the ground, bringing the hand down, and bending in, lifting the arm up to the ceiling. Just moving through this side, noticing if this was easy to coordinate, or you found it a little less easy this time. I find that this was easier for me on this side, but I've also now had practice with the other side. Beautiful. Last one, wherever you are. Next time that you bring that arm overhead, let's just pause. Remember, the pause is just as important, or the movement or the pose. And then when you're ready, bring that arm down and reposition a few feet if you need to. We'll bring those fingertips to the sternum. And once again, twisting towards our front leg. So I'm going to be twisting away from you. My right leg is forward. I'm twisting to my right. When you're ready, twisting back to the first position and twist. And then the last time as we twist, we would explore again, we're reaching the arms in opposite directions. Maybe taking that gaze back towards the thumb. That was my tipping point. Or anywhere that it feels okay. It could even be towards the front. Seeing if you can keep the sides of your body from your hips to your armpits of equal length. And then when you're ready, we'll draw those hands back to the sternum, back to the front position, stepping that foot forward, and again, taking that pause, noticing how you are experiencing this moment. I'm very aware that my heart rate's a little bit up, and my breath is even a little bit more rapid than it was. And so see if you can just work to ground back into your feet, standing in your vertical space, finding your breath. Once again, noticing any shifts in your mood, temperature of your body, any sensations you might be feeling on the top of the skin or maybe inside the body, even the quality of your thoughts. And then when you're ready, we'll start to close this practice with some self-regulation activities that we started with, as well as a shakeout. I call it the countdown shakeout, and one that if you've got little kids at home with you, this might be a really great and fun activity to do with everybody. So we're going to start by shifting our weight onto one side, and I'm going to have my other side free, and I'm just going to start by shaking out that one side. If you need to put your foot down at any point as you lose your balance, that's totally fine. But just thinking about sort of shaking out any excess energy that's accumulated in your body. This can be done after a movement practice, but it could also be done after a stressful experience or a tough phone call, or even with your kids, like I said, to help them calm and ground themselves when things are getting a little heated. So from here now, I'm going to start to count us down, and I will comment on us shifting to the other side. So just come to the other side and get a feel for how it feels to kind of shake that side of your body out. See if you can really flick right down to your finger and toenails, almost like you've got, gum on the end there. So you're really just trying to like flick that off, and maybe even notice the soft tissues on your limbs being a little bit more lucid. So we'll go back to the other side, and when you're ready, we're going to do this countdown down from 5. So shake it out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 1. 1, 1, 1, 1. And this is where you can start to just get a little silly, maybe a little hoedownish, just allowing yourself to explore a little bit of play in your practice. At the same time, shaking out, discharging any excess energy that's built up in your system. Shake, 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 shake. And then again, we'll allow that to come back to more stillness. I find it can be really activating and also grounding, but just allow yourself a little bit of time. Again, allowing the nervous system, the brain to integrate the experience. I've come into this gentle sway, which I find very soothing. You can even bring your hands over your heart. Make a connection with your internal system, connected to the beat of your heart. And whether you are standing still or choosing to gently sway or shift, see if you can observe the changes that happen over the next few moments. And then when you're ready, we'll close everything today going back to that moving mountain. So finding your feet on the ground, and we'll start with lifting up onto our heels, arms towards the ceiling, and lower back down. Lifting up nice and slow, and coming down. One more, lifting up and down. And then moving to those asymmetrical arm movements, lifting up. One arm continues up towards the ceiling, the other stays out in the T position, and down. Lifting up. Trying to really slow this down. See if you can just sequence everything in such a way that you come to the very top, everything together, and lower back down to the bottom, everything together. We'll just do one more on each side. Just noticing if this feels any different than the first time we explored this. Maybe, maybe not. And then we'll just end that off back with some symmetry. And one more just like that, lifting up. Lowering down, and then taking a pause at the end of your practice, thanking yourself for the efforts of taking the time for some self-care. Thank you for moving with me. Be well.